Welcome everyone to the coding class. This is coding 2, I guess. Okay, so quickly today what we are going to do is invert arrays and switch cases. How to use arrays and switch cases. So this is a makeup of Friday's class. Arrays and switch cases. We will start with arrays, then we will end with switch cases. Kindly open your text editors and let's start something. When we talk about array, an array is just a collection of elements of the same type placed in contiguous memory locations that can be individually referenced by using an index to a unique identifier. When I talk about an array is very simple. It's a way for you to create multiple spaces, whereby in these spaces you can store your values and retrieve the value at the time you want to make everything, either your calculations or your decisions. Quickly, let's start practicing. So open your text editor and start typing the default structure. So hash include IOStream. Okay, so very fast, start typing using namespace. Please, we will be moving very fast. So if you don't get something somewhere, just prompt me for me to clarify before we move on. We have a lot today. Int main, then okay. So this is how we are going to do our arrays. In our array, we are going to define 5 memory spaces to take 5 input from the user. 5 memory spaces to take 5 input from the user. Then after that, we will print out the input we took from the user. Very simple program. So we will just define our spaces instead of us to define int a, b, c, d, and so on and so forth. We will just use an array to declare the spaces. So it'll be like int, say number, so int num. Then we will declare our space. So we are using 5 spaces. Okay, so after declaring these 5 spaces, so this is the same as you using int a, int b, int c, int d, and int e. This time around, an array is giving us an opportunity to declare all at once.
Stand we. Yeah, this is you.
Okay, let's continue. So let's ask our user to enter the number. So you ask the person enter 5 numbers. Very quickly, practice along. Type in your text editor along. So very fast. We are asking our user to input 5 numbers. So in these 5 numbers, how are we going to store it? Here is where the array conditions come inside. Take note of these conditions. We are going to call a condition saying, in fact, for every number the user is going to type, in fact, declare it as I, so an integer I, whereby it should start storing at a position where it's 0, a position or memory space where it's 0. Therefore, our positions are going to be like So the I stands for every number the person is coming to input. That's what the I stands for. So we are storing all the I's in the array we've declared. That's the int num5. So we are saying we are going to collect the I's 5 times and store it in 5 different locations. That's the meaning here. So we'll move on saying 5. Then we'll be like, each time the person enters a number, store it in the different location. So we'll be like I plus plus. Okay. Now after that, we'll bring our normal C in. That's where we'll actually take the numbers. Our C in. So C in. Okay. So our C in, then our num. That's we are calling this array. It's the same way we do when we are using int A, int B, int C. Okay. So let's call it. Please, up to here, who don't understand, up to just this point. Okay, so ouch, we are calling the I, not the spaces, the I instead, because we've actually replaced the 5 here with space. So we call the I, not the space. Please take note. We are calling what the person is going to enter, not the space the person is going to store it. So it's C in num I. This I we are calling. Okay. Now let's go see out. After collecting these numbers, we will come here and say, in fact, for the numbers you've collected, which is int I, of where we said it should start from 0, and the I numbers you are going to collect should be less than 5, meaning the spaces should be 5. It will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, when you count from 0, it's 5. Then we move on. Very quick, we'll bring our, then we'll output our numbers. So we can see here are your numbers. Please, any question? Any question here, please? Okay, so we just call the second line. In the second line, we are saying the numbers are, so it means here are your numbers. So we will call it for print. When we say here are your numbers, let me close this. When we say here are your numbers, it doesn't necessarily, or it's not going to straightforward print it. We have to print it from our next definition. So we'll go ahead and says our number. So we see num let's represent this num by n, since okay. Now before that, let's use this, let's cut this. Here we are going to substitute the n, the I with numbers, so that we will call what is here. Take note, we define spaces, 9 empty spaces at the top. We prompt a user to actually input 5 numbers in this empty 5 spaces. Now the user input these numbers. We issue the command here saying whenever the user input a number is an I, and this I start storing it from memory space 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should, then we said it should be 5. It should be less than the number 5. So starting from 0. Then we said, in fact, store it at every place, so repeatedly. So when the first number comes, store it in the space 0, the second number in space 1, the third number in space 2. After declaring it, we said, in fact, take it from here. So we are saying cin, take the input the user is actually typing. After that, we came here, then said we are going to pop up the number, then said here are actually your numbers. We are telling the user here are his or her numbers. Then after that, we were so specific to our program, telling our program that in fact go and print this array, the array we've stored in I. So here we are going to print every number in I. So we said for int, which is an n, the number should 0, whereby n is less than 5 and n should be continuously be storing in subsequent order. Then we came, then print out the numbers as we always do with it. So we can, any question before we run our code here? Right, let's run our code. So run your code wherever you are. Okay, so you can see from my screen says enter 5 numbers. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you can see here are your numbers 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Just give you your numbers, simple and perfectly. Please, any question, do the same at your end, and let's see if you encounter any problem, we solve it, then we move on very quick. Please do the same at your end. If you encounter any problem, let me know, we solve it, then we move on to the next things. Any problem with an array, but you can use array to build multiple decision softwares. Okay, if there are no problem, I guess everyone is fine with that, with this, and he or she has been able to run it or a code. Right, we are moving on. The next thing we are going to move on to is switch case. Switch case. What is a switch case? In fact, in switch cases, it's used in making decisions. So for example, in switch cases, you can actually ask a user to input something, you store it somewhere, then later on you call the thing to make decision in the program you are going to build. For example, our first program we are going to build with switch cases is a calculator, a simple calculator. But this calculator is very different from what we've been building. This calculator, the user gets the opportunity to choose the operator. So if the user wants a plus, a minus, a multiplication sign, or a division sign, the person is able to choose from, so that he or she can continue his or her program. Please, any question before we begin? Hope everyone understands the array. I'll give you an assignment to go and try your hands on the array. More assignments on it. Okay, now let's move to the switch cases. Quickly, let's start. Hash include. IO stream. If I'm moving fast, you let me know. Using namespace. Then int main. Okay. Now this one is a whole different concept. It's all about logic and decision making. We are going to build two programs. One is for grade system, whereby the person will input the marks he or she got. Then the program should be able to say you got an A or B or C or D or E or F. This is basically used in making decisions or building logical programs. So our first program we are going to build here is the simple calculator. We are going to give the user an option to choose from. And after that, we will ask the user to input two numbers. After the numbers, our code is going to perform the calculation, then output the results for the person. So we are starting with our simple calculator. Please do along. So we'll use character. We are going to use character to describe or for our operation signs. We are going to use character. So we will say that's operation. We defined it. Then we will go again. Since we are going to build a calculator, it's advisable to use a float, that's a dot or a point. It's advisable to use a float. You all know float. If you don't understand anything, please let me know. Okay, so two numbers. So number one, then we will ask the person again, enter number two. So we declare two numbers for the float. Two numbers for the float. Okay, now after declaring the two numbers for the float, the next thing we are going to do is tell the person what he or she should. So we will say enter an operator. Operator, whereby maybe the person might not have any idea about the operators we are talking about. So we will actually help the person by, in fact, outputting some of the operators for the person. So this is our plus sign, our multiplication sign. Then let's use the 4 basic, our division sign. Then we will actually terminate our code. Oh, I didn't bring this. Okay. If you don't understand anything, draw my attention, or if I'm moving very fast, draw my attention. Okay. Let's move on. Now, the next thing we are going to do is to accept the operator. So, seeing we are going to accept the operator. So, we say operator. So, that's the operator space we defined. We've actually accepted. So, here we will prompt the user to enter any of the operators. Is it a plus, a multiple sign, or a subtraction or division sign? Then we will use cin to take the input from the user. Then after that, we will move on. Then accept any number the person, to any two numbers the person would want to use. So enter two numbers. Enter two numbers. Please practice along. So these two numbers, what are we going to do? We are going to tell our code to accept the two numbers. So number one, then number two. So okay. Then we can also do this to accept the number two simultaneously. Number two. So enter two numbers. At the acceptance side, at the cin, we can use this format to accept two numbers at the same time without actually going to the next line and define another cin num2. So we can you do that on one line just to make our code optimized and simple. Okay, now we are done with this. What's next? The next thing is the logic. This is where the switch keys come inside. How are we going to do it? Right, we have 10 minutes to wrap this and rejoin again. Okay, now we are going to implement our logic with the switch. Switch starts with switch, the normal switch. Okay, the normal switch. Then we are going to call the operation. The operation we actually define here, we are going to call it in the switch case. We open a curly brackets for all of them. For all of them. Mind you, bring your return 0 whenever you start your code. Return 0. So for all of them. Then inside we will start. Switch deals with cases. Case. So switch, we bring our operation. Then we start with cases. Switch deals with cases. So we say case 1. What do we have in case 1 or the first case? The first case we are saying we are using a plus sign. So please take note. It's a single quote, not a double quote as this one. This one is different from this one. This is a single quote. This is a double quote. Don't mix it. Okay, so we'll use the plus sign here. So we are saying our first should be the plus sign. Then we will bring our, then inside it we will come and define what our program should do. So we are saying cout. If the person chooses the plus sign, this is what it should do. Cout. Cout what? Num. Let's use the num. Number 1. The number 1 should be equal to plus. So we will bring the plus sign. Very simple. Then you will also bring the num2. Num2. After the num2, we will go ahead. Then we will bring our equal to sign. So just like we are performing calculation, simple calculation. Then we will bring our calculation. So calculation will be num1 plus num2. Num2. Then we will terminate this. In fact, after that, after each case, you have to break it. So you bring something called break. In switch cases, when you are starting, it's a switch. Then in it, what you are going to use is a case and a break. So these are the key words we use in switch cases. Switch, case, and a break. The switch means what we are going to actually, the logic we are going to perform in that structure. The case means the condition at which a certain logic should take place. So here we say the case plus in a condition whereby the user select a plus, do it like this. That's what we are telling our program right now. In a condition or in a case whereby, because we've given the user the mandate to choose from all of these 4 signs. Now, in a case whereby the user chooses a plus sign, do this. The first number the person input, that's from here, plus the second number the person inputs. You bring an equal to sign for the person. Then you sum them up or give the person the sum of those 2 numbers. After that, break it, meaning end it. Very simple. From there, we move to case 2. What does case 2 also says? Now, case 2, we are using our multiplication sign. So case 2, we define our multiplication sign. Now in case 2, the same thing goes. You actually do the same thing. Let me bring this. In case 2, number 1, then after that too, you break. Please, any question? So that it goes on. So let's move to case 3, the next case. So you just change the sign to minus. Then you break. The next case, that's our last sign, you change it to. Then you break. So it's very simple. You give the person the option to choose from any of these operators. After that, you take 2 numbers from the person. Now, after that, you come to your code, you give it logic. This is the logic we are giving to our code. Switch. In fact, let's start. Now, case 1. This is where the person chooses an operator plus. When immediately the person chooses the operator plus, add the first number and the second number of the person together and give the person that sum, that result of that sum. After that, don't continue, break it. Else, if the person chooses multiplication, do the same, but this time use multiplication sign. Break it. Else, if the person chooses a subtraction sign, do likewise. Break it. Else, if the person chooses a division, do likewise. Break it. Okay, any question, please, before we move on? Now, after defining all these cases, we need to have a default whereby should the person not choose any of these, or the person tries to trick our program. So instead of the person choosing any of the defined, the person will choose any sign, maybe such as the at sign, this sign, instead of the operations. What should our code do? Now, we will define something called default or default. That means on the normal nodes, our program, if any person defines any operator that we've not defined, this is what we are going to do. We are going to tell the person, see out error, uh, error, then exclamation mark. The operator is not correct, or you chose a wrong operator, or you chose an invalid operator. You choose an invalid operator, then we will close our program. Then after that, break it. Of course, you are done with your program. Please run it, run it, run it wherever you are, run your program. We will rejoin again. We have less than a minute. I'll generate a new link. Please, and share it to your WhatsApp group too. Okay, we will come back right now.